Hey everyone, welcome back to Be Not Afraid. I apologize for the technical difficulties. We were having an issue with sound, but we should be all good now. Before I introduce my guest, I want to give you a little bit of context. A Cuban revolution wasn't just political change, it completely altered everyday life in Cuba. Families were divided, private property was seized, speech and faith were restricted, and for many people, the only option left was to flee. Often in extremely dangerous situations, this is where we see those Cuban boats made out of whatever they could find, leaving behind everything they knew in search of freedom. Because of that history, many Cuban immigrants are some of the most patriotic Americans today. They understand what communism looks like, not from some ideology, but from actual lived experience. My guest today is Gabby Perez. She grew up in Cuba under that system. She now lives, like I do, in Utah. And even here, we're both seeing something deeply concerning: a growing attraction to communism. This is among Gen Z and Gen X, and also our younger people, often coming from people who have never experienced the real world consequences. Gabby does an excellent job, and she is the leader of Students for Liberty. Is that correct?
Youth for Liberty.
Youth for Liberty. I wanted her to come and to share her story, and I'm going to let her go mostly uninterrupted. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. But I know that personally, as somebody who grew up during the Cuban crisis, I didn't hear a lot about it. And you have to ask yourself why. So, everyone, please welcome Gabby. Hi, Gabby.
Thank you so much, Carrie, for having me.
I'm so glad to finally have you. Usually I'm talking to people that I don't know in outside of the virtual world. And so it's kind of cool to have somebody on that I actually consider a friend and a fellow warrior in all this nonsense.
Yes, it's very nice.
So just tell us your story.
Well, like you said, I was born in Cuba. Life in Cuba is very different from here. And even though I tell you everything about it, you will still not understand what it is like because it's so weird. It's like living in a different planet, okay? You are controlled in every aspect of your life, what you eat, what you read, what you watch, what music you listen to. Especially the time I lived in Cuba, there was no internet at all. So I had pretty much no contact with the outside world. Okay. Um, we are given a ration food card and we have to buy with that one bread per person a day, five eggs per person a month. So food is very limited and there is no toilet paper. I always put that example because toilet paper is so necessary. Like that's a very necessary thing in your life and something that we use every day in the US, but that is a luxury in Cuba. So I remember one time they were selling toilet paper at the store, which was very weird. And my mom went to buy a few of them. They didn't let her. She was only allowed to buy one toilet paper roll. Okay, so it's very frustrating to live in Cuba, but because I grew up in that society, I kind of got used to it. And once I left, I was able to see what the real world was like, and it was very shocking. I did imagine there was something different outside of Cuba because my parents worked in tourism in the tourist area, and my mom was a waitress, and my dad was in the front desk in a hotel. So they actually had a lot of contact with tourists, and they knew what the world outside was like. They came back home and told me about it, but when I went to school, I was totally brainwashed. So there was a point in my life that I didn't know what to believe. If I should believe my parents or if I should believe the school and everything that I watched on TV, that the US was bad, that the US was evil, that they wanted to kill every Cuban and bomb the country. So I did imagine something good outside, but I couldn't really know what it was like, until I left. When I left Cuba, I remember it was the most beautiful day of my life. I went to Spain first, and I went to a market, a grocery store. I remember the doors open by themselves, and I stood there, and I was like, should I walk in? Should I stay out? I didn't know what to do, and I was like, this is so impressive. That doors just open automatically. And I walked inside the store, and there was so much food and colors, and I remember seeing just a lot of boxes, colorful boxes. It was probably like cereal and candy and who knows what. And I was like, oh my gosh, there is so much to look at, so much to learn about and to eat. And I remember my dad bought Spider-Man cake. It had a picture of Spider-Man on top. And I asked, do you eat the Spider-Man too? And that was so impressive to me, you know? It was crazy that you could eat the picture on the cake. And then I saw a lady with a big shopping cart full of food. And I told my dad, that lady's probably rich. Look all the food she has in there. And my dad said, no, 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 no. Here, everybody can buy anything they want. Even the poor people, the government gives them aid and they can buy what they need, you know? So those are some of the first things that I noticed when I left Cuba. And you're probably wondering how I left Cuba.
Yes.
But yeah, so it's really hard to leave the country. They don't let you leave just because. It's not like Mexico or any other Latin American country where you can get a visa to work here or to study here. To leave Cuba is very, very difficult. That's why most people do it in a raft, especially back then when I left. There was a policy here in the US that was called the dry feet, wet feet policy, which basically meant that if you were Cuban and you got here to the US, you were caught in dry land with dry feet, you could stay legally.
Oh,
That is that's why there were so many people coming in rafts back then. Still today, but less. So
explain. Did you just say if you got here with dry feet, you could stay?
yes. So basically if you came in a raft and they caught you in the water, they would send you back. But
Okay.
if they saw you in the dry land and the sand or whatever else, you could stay
And when
legal.
did you come? When did
So yeah, so that's what I'm getting. So
Okay,
my
sorry.
dad wanted to come. No, it's okay. My dad wanted to come that way, but my mom was so worried about him. You know,
Mhm.
the plan was maybe he could come first in a raft, and then he would file the petition for us, for his family. But that would take long time. That was illegal to leave Cuba that way, and also very risky. He could die. He could lose his life in the ocean. So we decided to go the longest way, which was we found out that we had a ancestor from Spain, and the Spanish embassy was letting people to become Spaniard citizens through their ancestors. So I became a Spaniard citizen, my mom, my sister, everybody, and we were able to live to Spain as Spaniards. We had never been out of Cuba, but because we had a Spaniard passport, the Cuban government let us leave,
Okay.
which was not a right we had as Cubans. It's very ironic. But we went to Spain, and then from Spain, we came to the US as Spaniards on a plane very easily, thank goodness. And once we got to the airport, we had dry feet, so we were able to get the dry feet, wet feet policy, and we were able to stay. So
Wow.
the wait was long. Yes, a lot of sacrifices. My mom and dad had to leave before us to Spain. It was crazy, but it was worth it because we were safe. We didn't have trouble with the Cuban government. It was not dangerous for us to leave, and we were able to come here legally as well. So everything worked out at the end.
Well, and your family was very everyday people, it sounds like. Front desk, waitress. We're not talking professionals with something
No,
to, as some people would say, to offer. I have a little bit of a video that I found interesting. I was just trying to learn a little bit about Cuba. Did you say Cuba or Cuba?
in Spanish, Cuba.
Cuba. Okay.
Mhm.
I prefer to say it the right way. So I'm just going to play this little less than a minute video here. Because I think it's kind of telling the things that we don't learn about history. And the crazy thing is that when this video was made, I was in high school. This should have been the thing that we were learning about, but we didn't learn a thing that I can remember.
Closer, you'd have to push it away with the oars. They were empty rafts.
I have ordered that illegal refugees from Cuba will not be allowed to enter the United States. The situation becomes critical. President Bill Clinton announces that those fleeing Cuba would be intercepted at sea and sent to the U.S. naval base in Guantanamo.
The government of Cuba has resorted.
Janet Reno, Attorney General at the time, officially endorses the president's order. On August 24th, then Secretary of Defense William Perry announces the expansion of the detention camps in Guantanamo with a capacity to house as many as 40,000 refugees.
Llegando nosotros a Guantánamo.
When we
So that just, were you able to see the video at the same time? I haven't done that a lot with a guest. So can you hear me, Gabby? You're a little bit blurry. Can you hear me, Gabby? I've lost you. Okay, let me know in the chat if you were able to watch the video. If not, I will just tell you while I send Gabby a message and tell her to jump back on. Let me find her. So what this video was that people I kind of see you now. I don't know. You're turned
I
on your
can't
side.
hear
That's
you.
kind of weird. I don't know why you're turned on your side.
Can you hear me?
I hear you, but you're turned on your side like this, and I don't know why. So were you able to watch the video? Were you able to see it? Nope, she's gone. Okay. So what happens in that video is that it talks about how when people got here, President Bill Clinton at the time said they could not stay. So this must have been before she got here. So I'm just going to let me tell her. There we go. Coming back in. Maybe. Try again. So President Clinton and his whole administration said they couldn't come, and they also put them in Guantanamo Bay, which is like a prison system. Here we go. Maybe. She's frozen. Oh, there we go. I will add you to the stream. Sorry about that. Now I'll get a double Gabby. So today we have people saying our situations are unfair. The things that we're doing are unfair. But back then, they were not saying that. So, what changed? What changed? It wasn't near the numbers that we have today. Add to the stream. Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can now hear the real you. Yes. I was trying to keep that going. So were you able to watch the video, Gabby, when I showed it? Did you see it? Hello? We may have to start again. No, can you hear me? Gabby? I think we might have to get off and start again, which is kind of a bummer, but I don't know what else we can do. Do they let people come into Cuba and stay? That is a great question. I'll be sure to ask her. I think we're going to have to jump off and jump back on in order to let her get back on, though. Let me try again. Well, that's okay. We'll try again. We'll get off and start this thing all over again. It'll be okay, I guess. Wait. Hmm.